Hi everyone, my name is Fabian Torres, and I have the fourth Ship Student Spotlight interview here, and I'm with Jocelyn Ortega, and she's going to tell us a little bit more about herself. So why don't you just do that right now, Jocelyn?
For sure. Hello, my name is Jocelyn Ortega. I am a sophomore in UIC. I'm studying chemical engineering, but I'm also minoring in mathematics. So hopefully we'll see how that goes. A bit more about myself. When I was in high school, I was doing an associate's degree as well. So I have an associate's in web graphic design, and I have different hobbies from like drawing a bit all the way to making music sometimes. There's that.
Yeah, I was going to say
Hmm.
um, we're trying to do this thing with the interviews where we make them a little bit more personal now, and we kind of bring up, like you said, some points that make the interview a little bit more intimate with the actual person we're interviewing. And like you said, you were working on an associate's in high school. So actually, that brings me to my first question, which I was going to ask anyway, but it brings up your past. So if you want to, or however comfortable you feel, uh, would you mind like kind of walking us through your past and how you ended up here in engineering?
For sure, I'll spill the tea for all of you guys. So I remember when I was little, I loved playing with Legos and anything like cars and stuff like that. Like, yeah, I am the oldest, but my brother, who's like my only brother, he's the youngest. He like inspired me to bit more on Legos and cars. And so I would love to play with those. I would mess around with them, build different things compared to like reading the instructions. So I knew I wanted to be like an inventor. I never knew exactly what. So I was just like, I'm gonna be an evil scientist or something like that. But then growing up, there was this one opportunity I had. It was at this place called Metro Achievement Center. So it's like a little area where girls from different sides of Chicago come in and they work on different um things they want to do. So like there was one especially for engineering. So it was like an apprenticeship. So I was chosen out of 16 girls, and so we got to know about a bit more about engineering, and then we got to meet somebody from Boeing. So that exact event was where I knew I wanted to do engineering. The lady was talking about different types of engineering fields, and then she said chemical engineering. She's like, "Oh, chemical engineering is involved in so many things. Could even be in like the fabric that you're wearing." Like she was pointing out her dress. She had like little triangles and stuff like that. So she's like, "This was designed for a reason from an engineer." I was like, "That's so cool." And then she also had like a little robotic arm for us to build. And she's like, "I'm gonna give this to somebody who I think would be an excellent leader." And she chose me. I was such a shy student, so I was surprised. And she's like, "Look, I want you to be in charge of this. And then, like, once you guys are done building it, call me over and I'm going to go see it." So from that day on, I was like, engineering. And that's where I am now, actually. I knew I wanted to do engineering, never knew exactly what. Then I thought again about chemical engineering, how it fits in almost any area. And I was like, that's more of like inventor kind of thing. So that's why I'm here studying chemical engineering, a bit of mathematics because I love math. And yeah, I'll see where life takes me.
I mean, like that's interesting to hear because it's like at least to a lot of people, it's that engineering was never either their first choice or it's that's something that they kind of automatically knew that they wanted to do. And of course, I don't think that many people like in school, like in high school and like grade school and stuff like that, like they don't know that engineering is a thing that exists until like they're already kind of close to like college or until they're close to already like declaring their major sort of. They just think there's math and science and then there's the arts. At least that's what I thought. But
Yeah.
yeah, you said like so yeah. I mean that's a pretty impactful little like thing that happened there. So you were awarded like a kind of like a leadership position. You're like, oh Like, yeah.
But not all the way actually. Because when I was little, I wanted to be an artist. Like for real, the first thing I wanted to do was be an artist. And I told my mom. I remember I drew like a little pony, and I was like, "Mom, look at me, I'm such an artist." And she's like, "You're gonna be starving in the streets." So like from that day on, it ruined my art career, and I was like, okay. But then like at my high school, shout out to DeVry Advantage Academy, they were like, you got to pick either web graphic design or I think it was like coding networking. And I chose web graphic design. I was like, yeah, networking would take me so many other places because coding, but I want to do some art. I still love doing art. I always try to find a way to do art. Like my other like freshman and sophomore years, those were the days I was like at another school. I did a bit of was it honors art, and then I also did orchestra. So I learned how to play an instrument. But then when I came here to DeVry, I was like, I'm gonna do graphic design a bit more, but like online art, and it was really fun. I was one of the top students, and I have a nice connection with my professors over there. But at the same time, I still knew I wanted to do engineering because, like I said, I want to find a way to connect not only my engineering major but also my art major. That's why I love designing a lot. So like for ship, I am the historian, so I do data and processing. So that's like a bit of Excel here and there. But I'm also working on the ship merch at this point, which is the art that I would like to include. So there's that. I was never really like engineering. I knew I wanted to do engineering, but I also want to do some other like side gigs, some side jobs, not only focusing on engineering.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean that that kind of like artistic side, it's something that people don't really associate when they see like STEM majors or like engineering majors. And I totally feel you on that too, because when I was in high school, like I told my parents like, man, I want to go into art, I want to, because I used to do kind of similar things as you. I used to draw a lot. I love anime, so I watched a lot of
Definitely for
anime.
sure.
Yeah, exactly. Like
But
if I
yeah,
had, I was gonna say, do I have anything anime related near me? No. Like,
it's fine. I
I was gonna
actually,
tout it.
honestly, just show off our merch now. No, just kidding. But actually, the reason why I got into anime was because in my elementary school, instead of teaching us like Spanish or Chinese, we learned Japanese. So I got introduced into their culture. I did a bit of dancing for like a specific part of Japan called Okinawa. I did some Okinawa dancing, a bit like storytelling plays. I don't remember exactly, but I was pretty good at it. And yeah, I wanted to continue on with my Japanese, but I didn't, so I picked up French and then I learned a bit of German. I need to pick that up again. But you see, I have so many hobbies. Like I said, art, languages, a bit of music here and there, and then there's anime. A huge chunk of anime.
Yeah, so I can definitely tell you have a lot of like investment in the arts, and I guess a lot of like a lot of creative passion there for sure.
Not a lot of people, like how you said, engineers are usually seen as just being engineers. You're like, oh, you like math, you like science, blah blah blah. Not always. For me, I like implementing my art for most things. Like even note taking, I'll like do a little illustration. Like visual learning is something that I like to incorporate a lot. So I try to add in my little doodles or arts inside my homework or my notes just to make it a bit more fun and I could remember things easier.
I'm the same exact way. Like I'm a super visual learner myself, so I'm totally on board. I make like a bunch of little pictures, notes, and like any visual I can in my notes because it helps me to create a picture in my mind and help me to like better remember the concepts and all this stuff in science and engineering. And that's
hmm
huge because if you can draw a picture for people and stuff like that, and you can label stuff super clearly, it means you like actually understand the concepts. So pays to be a good artist in STEM and engineering.
Honestly, it's something I think engineers should know a bit more about. Some art, little nice doodles and here and there.
and some neater handwriting for some other engineers, because
So
yeah,
some be writing so weird. Very
it's like I
true.
can't read your chicken scratch.
It's like a doctor's note. You're like, yes, scribble, thank you.
Exactly.
hmm
So we're gonna get right into. I guess now we're gonna get down to the STEM questions, because, yeah, because we are engineers and stuff like that.
Yes,
But
gotta go back to our basics.
yep. So my, I guess that was like combined first second question, because I was gonna ask you first about your past, and then we started talking about anime, art, and like, um, yeah, a little bit more about like how you got into your creative passions. So that answer, that was a 2 for 1. We're gonna go into the third one then. Well, actually, hmm, I guess you already told me the third one. My third one was gonna be, what is your story behind how you're studying STEM now? But you kind of told me a little bit more about that. Is there anything that you kind of miss in there, or was that like a very quick overview, or?
um, well, how do I study for STEM? Good question. Nowadays, because everything is virtual, you usually get like recorded lectures. So I like
Oh,
watching them again. And so I'll like fast them a little bit forward to like instead of seeing them at speed one, up to like 1.5 or something like that. So then I could listen to it and I could just like correct my notes if I took any or like edit it. And I also like use a lot of colors. So I have different little pens that are erasable at at the top. So I'll like write something and I'll be like, oh, purple is my comments on the work that the professor did. The questions are always like in black. Answers are red highlighted or something like that. Just a quick things that I could like look back into for my notes. hmm
yeah, like, I was gonna say I'm also like into like organizing my notes like that. I do like color wise organization. Sometimes I do like a squiggly, and that signifies like this is a new section, or like everything from the top to the bottom right here. This is unrelated. It's like a new like little concept. But
hmm
like, I guess another the thing is, I was wondering like specifically your story behind how you came to study STEM, and how you came to study like chemical engineering, because um because at least to me it seems like a lot of other engineers, like chemical engineering is kind of an outlier. Like it's very different than the other kind of engineering, like mechanical engineering, um like, I don't know, electrical engineering, computer science is very different as is, but like it's a chemical engineering is a very different one than the other branches of engineering, at least to me and to a couple other people I've talked to. Tell me a little more
hmm
about that.
No, yeah, you're completely right. Actually, I thought chemical engineer like in the beginning. I thought chemical engineers only did like chemical things, like little science things. They're like one drop here, one drop there, explosion, you're good. No, actually, there's different types of chemical engineers. So the few that I know, because I'm still just a sophomore, there's like kind of like electric types. So like I did an internship at Allcell, and there we made basically battery packets. So those battery packets would be rechargeable, made out of lithium ions, and we would give them off to different companies that would need them for like scooters, cars. I think sometimes we would send them to Amazon as well. So I got to work a bit on that. So that's like a totally different view of what I had as that chemical engineers did. And then like from different like career fairs I've been attending and companies I've researched, there's some that have to do more with like water. So they're trying to like clean the water and make it less pollute. And there's also like more of like what I'm interested, I guess, which is environmental. That's the main reason. One of the main reasons I decided on chemical engineering is because I am a big advocate for global change, global warming change, because I you could tell how the world has been progressing into kind of a dead end because of all this pollution that we've been creating, and I want to find ways of limiting and like stopping it and also reducing it at the same time. So like for example, one of my ideas that I've had so many ideas since I was little, but like I'll share one. So you know how we're trying to start doing drones that like are able to like ship packages from one place to another. So I thought
Mhm.
about why not having like drones going around but like collecting the CO2 that the plants aren't able to collect all the time, because like in the city there aren't really many trees. If anything, the few trees we have left are being cut down. So I thought maybe we could like implement those drones to kind of like also collect a bit of CO2 and take out some pure oxygen for us to breathe, which would help reduce it. And then we could also try to get like more people to plant trees. That's one of the aspects I want to do for chemical engineering. But I also know it has to do with like mechanical, like to design a drone, you need to have some mechanical instincts inside. So that's why I was like, it at like how you see me now, I'm taking up different hobbies, different things, so like art. That's one of them, just because I've always thought it was a fun thing to know to do. But I do enjoy what's it called, designing things, for sure, and just inventing things really. I come up with weird idea, weird situations, and I'm like, oh, how am I gonna easily solve this? There's never a correct way to solve it. Like, there's never an exact way to solve it, but you could figure it out, and then you could also make it better after that.
I mean, that's half the fun though. So like you said, like with your inventions and ideas, like I guess where I find that chemical engineering sits is where a lot of, I mean, which is why I guess it's its own branch, but it it sits in a place where, you know, the mechanical engineers, they design the enclosures, the electrical engineers do a lot of the hardware underneath it, they do a lot of the PCBs and like the electrical stuff side of it. You know, the computer scientists, they do the coding part of it, they do like um you know, software and other software solutions and things like that, maybe algorithms too as well. Like you know, all these other branches of engineering focus a lot on like the general gist, in my opinion, of like what people can see. But at least to me, like chemical engineering seems like it focuses on a lot of what people can't see, like which is the batteries and the kind of technology that goes inside the batteries and the chemistry makeup of those batteries. Um, like you said, like in clothes, like in fabric and stuff like that. There's all these different kinds of things that like you really don't think about when you see like a shirt, for example, or when you see like anything really. But it's huge, as you can see. Like the chemical compounds and makeups of these materials, like they make a huge difference. But you know, you just can't see it. But it's
Hmm.
but yeah, I mean,
It's right there.
like,
Yeah, we're kind of like the behind the scenes, the backstage. We're trying to put the props up for everybody else to be able to like, well, I guess in this case, make a play so everybody else would get it. So like for cars, you're like, oh yeah, we're presenting you this car. Look, it has all these features, but nobody really comes to think about like, oh, how were they able to do this? How many people were needed to build this? How many minds? How many trial and errors took to complete that product?
yeah, I mean, that just comes with engineering as a whole. That's true. Any field that anyone's like, anyone who's been in STEM, they can tell you that. They can tell you that it's got so many stages of the process that they didn't even know were a part of the process, and it gets to be um, a long game to play. But you know, we're in it for the long haul.
Yeah, for a fact. Once you complete something, you would feel amazing afterwards. You're like, hey, I did that. That's amazing. And then you see how people like from whatever you built, they start piling up more and they're like, oh, we gotta make it like faster, more efficient, like what's it called? Less waste, and also like just cheaper. And I think that's amazing.
Optimization.
Mhm.
And I guess we're, with that being said, we're gonna move on into the next question. Sorry. Uh, the The next question is, what impact? I mean, this is going to be interesting to hear from you because you're a second year, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I was going to say this is going to be, I think, a different answer than what other people are going to have, but I'm still, super curious to hear it. But I'm going to ask it anyway. What impact do you feel that studying STEM has had on you as a person, mentally, academically? Um, yeah, just go ahead.
I didn't really quite understand that question. Can you repeat it?
Yeah. So, what impact do you feel that studying STEM has had on you as a person, mentally or academically?
Hmm. Well, um, I know for a fact, coming straight off from high school with a bit of like college stuff in between of it to college, to actual college, it was a big jump. I thought I was going to be prepared, but again, how I was saying, I was doing about graphic design, and also like high school classes aren't really focused on what career you want. It's more of like general education, take it or leave it. And then, but when you go here at in college, especially for STEM, um, you learn a lot more. Like I don't know how to explain it, but like um my last year, my senior year, I took Calc 1, so it was AB Calc, and we were learning it a completely different way, and it was like so slow paced compared to how it is here in college. And here in college, it was much easier for me to understand. I don't understand why, but like I picked it up real quick, and I kept like going through all Calc 1, 2, and 3, and now I'm in Math 220. I forgot which one that's called, but yeah, that's one aspect of it. It's honestly, I would just say college is. I think college is worth it. Like if you really think about it, you're finally getting that education that you knew that you wanted to get in order to get to wherever point B you wanted to. So like for me in my case, I wanted to do chemical engineering, and then like all of this that I'm doing in college actually feels like I'm gonna get there compared to how I was when I was in elementary school. Not many people know, but since I was like a small child, my teacher said that I was like a pretty smart student, but they said I had a language barrier because I am from Mexican parents, and they tried really hard trying to teach me English and Spanish the best they could. And so what they ended up doing was they like made me instead of getting like straight A's, like they messed around with my grades so I wouldn't be taken to like a higher level class where they only spoke English. Because of that, I I found out later from my parents, and I felt horrible by knowing that. And so I've always wanted to kind of like show off, not show off, but like per pursue something that people didn't think I would be able to accomplish. They're like, "Oh yeah, she could do this, but she's probably not going to do that." So like for example again with my mathematics, I've always loved math, and in my freshman year, I was supposed to be taking, I would think it was geometry, but they made me take algebra again. And then when I went to DeVry, they're like, "Oh, you're taking algebra again." And I was like, "Why? I don't know." So after a week there at DeVry, there were like the teacher actually went to talk to me. She's like, "Hey, you're not supposed to be here. What are you doing here? Like you're too smart for this class." And I was like, "Yeah, but people aren't listening to me. I'm complaining about how I find these classes so easy. I want to be like pushed more." And so my teacher, because she also taught calculus at that time, she's like, "You know what? I'm gonna give you some calc homework in between your algebra homework." It's like, so then like for your senior year, you'll take AP calc. So she was able to help me out. But then like what's it called? So I went from algebras, so many's, to calc, and like how I said it, it was difficult. The way they were teaching it was difficult. eventually I ended up having to pick up the role of kind of like a teacher to my whole class. Like I ended up teaching the class a few times, and eventually the teacher got mad at me. She's like, "Hey, you're kind of like stealing my job." I remember in like we had a parent teacher conference with that teacher, and she was like, "Hey, your daughter is like making me feel embarrassed because she's correcting me in the board." I remember one time I ended up getting up from my seat to the board because the teacher was doing it incorrectly. And then she got so mad. She's like, "You might as well just teach the class." And I'm like, "Yeah, for sure." Anyway, back to the teacher conference. My mom was like, "Oh," was like, "I guess she has like kind of like that teacher vibes." And my teacher's like, "Yeah, but like she's not the one getting paid." And I was like, "Damn, okay." I remember my mom said she was like, "Oh, what was it?" She said, "If you're gonna be like this, you're gonna let her teach the class, you might as well give her half your paycheck because she's actually saving a lot of students' what's it called, grades." That same teacher ended up scolding one of my classmates who I'm really close to. Um, she was having a really hard time in the like the quizzes we would have, and one time she had like a 1 out of 10 or something like that, and she went to like office hours, and the teacher straight up told her, I was there. She's like, "You're not gonna pass, so why are you even here?" And I was hurt by her hearing that because I know how it feels like to be pushed down to some place that you don't belong and you want to like get out of there. So what I did was I spent time with her, like I think it was just a day, teaching her how to do whichever like module we were doing. And then when she retook it, she got an 8 out of 10. I was able to not only prove that besides being a good teacher, that I could help out others to kind of achieve what I'm trying to achieve as well. But
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, like, I mean, that was a huge story there, like, because actually, it's that's I think that's a first. Like, a lot of people tend to come from the place where they get to college and they feel that it's actually like it is like they do feel it's harder, but they feel that the teaching style they don't actually like it that much more because it's faster paced, because teachers aren't so very like in depth and they aren't willing to maybe like sit down with you and focus with the problems that you're
Mhm.
having like right away in class. Like you have to go to office hours, you have to go to TA hours, you have to find external help, like however you can, or you just scour the internet, you try to find YouTube videos, resources, look at books. But like you said, most of the learning is done outside of the classroom, and a lot of people don't like that. But it seems like what you like is you do like that faster paced learning because to you it comes a little bit more intuitive, or it comes a little faster. Is that safe to say? Would you say?
Yeah, for the most part, it is like how I said, I like making a bit faster like the lectures that I have now because I have most of my classes asynchronous. So I do that. Yeah, sometimes it's like difficult to understand it. You're like, "I didn't understand that clearly," but that's when you would, like how you said, you would go to like textbooks and figure that out. You'd be like, "Oh, it's this way." Or like group chats. You could talk to other people, see if you guys are confused and try to work it out. Like how I said, or like sub lead said, I like working in groups. I like sometimes like taking the teacher role and teaching them because that's a way for me to like recall how I learned it and try to help them out understand it the way I did, or like help them figure out a way so they could understand the topic. That's something that kind of works for me most of the time because like now that it's everything is virtual, can't really do that right now, but I try to. But then yeah, um I do kind of don't like how there's like specific office hours you could go to. Like, I know for one of my classes, she's like, "Oh, I only have them on Wednesdays. You guys come on Wednesdays, or I'm not gonna help you at all." Yeah, that sucks because, well, she's a professor. She knows a bit more, and she's been teaching it for so many years. How is she not gonna help us figure that out? But
Yeah, I mean, it's it's difficult when you do get to college. At least that's something that I kind of had like some trouble like finally getting my head around is that like yeah, you're surrounded by a lot of smart people, but at the same time it's like, they value their time, and so they're only going to be available on these days, and if you can't, well, out of luck, you got to ask your friends, you got to like find other sources and stuff like that. Like, yeah, I don't know. It was a lot of stuff about college I at first did not like, but I mean, overall as a whole, I did like college more as well. So I can't say that like it was a downgrade. It was like it's just different. It's just very different, really, like what people say. It's just different. You just have much more self-responsibility to get your things done and to learn the things you have to learn. And the the part where you're actually talking about teaching other people is something that I want to highlight in the next question. So I'll branch into that one, and then I can ask you another question actually,
For sure.
after we're done with that one, because I have some personal experience myself also with that, uh, but it's not nearly to the same extent, but still. So our next question is, how can we make STEM more accessible to younger audiences and encourage them to pursue a career in STEM, and other audiences like minorities, underrepresented groups, because we are SHIP, so we do advocate for Latinos and Hispanics in STEM. So how do you think we could get them to pursue a career in STEM?
Okay, let me tell you more stories, I guess, which lead up to how I am now. So again, back to like the little Metro Achievement Center where I learned about engineering. So because I was so interested in engineering at that time, I ended up talking to one of the counselors, and I was like, "Hey, I want to do like which is now what we do in here in SHIP, Noche de Ciencias." Oh, I called it like science afternoon with like kids, girls from I think it was third grade all the way to eighth grade. So what we did was we had little stations where we did like different types of engineering. So there was like electrical that we would do like some moldable clay that would conduct electricity for little girls to learn more about it. There was one about mechanics, and there was a robotic arm that we built. So I was able to host that, and I thought it was amazing. Like again, back to teaching. I just love seeing their eyes like sparkle when they understand it. Like you just see that little like aha moment. This is something I understand, or like something that I'm passionate about. I just love seeing them doing that. So like even currently I am working for the ship Noche de Ciencias for the region 6, the region we are in. So I'm gonna be working on making a pendulum with 6th through 8th graders. That's exciting. I just wanna see how it all works out, and maybe like convince some of them that like, hey, STEM is where it's at. Maybe you're into this, but we'll see. Not only that, but I've also had this idea of how I'm so grateful of like how SHIP, UIC, and even DeVry have been able to like pay most of my education. And so once I get older, maybe like around my 50s, when I'm kind of old and I already like have settled down, I kind of want to open a scholarship for more minority engineering students who want to pursue any type of engineering, and like they have the what's it called, grit. They have the grit to achieve it and will do anything for it. I'm willing to like just give them a scholarship to try and give them the same opportunity I had, maybe even a better one. You never know what's going to happen 20 years from now. Maybe there's better education and I'm able to like make one of them into like the new Einstein or something. Something I'm really hoping for later in the future.
No, yeah, I mean, that's huge because that's something that we're starting to see now, which is awesome, that we do have more scholarships and more like financial opportunity available to students that want to study STEM, because a lot of the times is that like you said, it's that we have kids with passion, we have kids with drive, but there's there's no, I guess, way to bridge the gap between having financial means to do that and, of course, wanting to pursue their dreams, to be, that engineer, that scientist, that mathematician, whatever it is they want to do. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, scholarships, financial support, huge, I will say. And
So,
then,
I would say we need to
mhm,
more like female representation, because like most of these like engineering fields or like smart stuff, they usually have more males involved than females, and I kind of want to like bump up a bit more females. I'm like, hey, you could do that too. Don't
yeah,
be like what's it called, afraid of it. You could accomplish it. If I accomplished it, so can you. So many people have also accomplished it. Why not line up with them?
it's a that and that's another fact as well. It's a male dominated field, so I mean, um, any representation is like is good. Any other representation that we can get, female representation, minority representation, basically just getting the field to be more diverse, because it's a proven thing that if you have a more diverse team, if you have more diverse backgrounds, you're gonna get better results. You're gonna get more ideas and more interesting ways of thinking about how to solve problems and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I totally agree. Would you? I do have a question. Do you think that you
Yeah.
would, when you're saying you would like to offer, like, for example, a scholarship or a grant, to students that want to study STEM, uh, would it be like a grant maybe focused towards Latinas in STEM, or towards girls in STEM, or towards Hispanics in STEM, or do you have like any focus group you would put it towards?
I mainly thought of Latinos because I am a first generation student, so I never really had anybody to guide me through like the process of college and even like the classes I'm taking. Like, yeah, I have a few cousins who are like doing community college, but they're also like, what's it called? They're also like from DACA. So I kind of also want to help those out. I mean, I look, what's it called? I am a resident here. I'm a citizen, but I would also like to help out those. So I haven't specifically chosen who, but I would like to focus a bit more on Latinos, specifically Latinx, but specifically more the Latinas, because like how I said, I want to kind of see a bit more of our faces up in like the board meetings and all that. Like when you see like about pages, I want to see a bit more of us implemented.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's a good feeling too when you get into the field and you see that you're not the only like Hispanic or Latino like person, uh basically in the classroom or anywhere else that it is that you want to be like. But yeah, I totally feel you on that. Like, for example, my last internship my last internship, I mean, it was virtual, but pretty much in like all the intern calls, uh, I was like the only Hispanic, Latinx person there, and it was a little weird, but
No, same. I feel you here. I was the only Latinx and also the only female at the company I was working at. And I was like, hmm. But if
makes you
anything, I'm
think.
glad they yeah, I'm glad they saw my resume and they're like, this one is fine. This one's good for right now.
Yeah,
Gave me to see like a different perspective, if anything. It's fine.
and then when it comes to like to teaching, I also kind of like get that like spark as well when you're trying to when you feel good about basically teaching people and stuff like that. It- and another thing about that as well is like when they say like if you can teach it to someone else, you get to learn it twice, and so then you learn it
Exactly.
better by actually being able to teach it. So I feel it's a win-win. I win because I feel like I know it better, and you win because now you get to know it as well, and now they can carry that out as well and teach someone else. And I don't know, I feel it's a good cycle. I like teaching as well, which is also why I have like a tutoring position that I like to do for MERP. Well, now it's
Hmm.
ELC, but yeah, like I totally get you when you say like you feel that you like when you see that spark in their eyes when they actually get it, and when you can find ways to explain it in super simple terms. And for example, like I always feel like when people come to my tutoring hours and stuff, I want them to feel like it's a no judgment zone. Like if they don't know something or if they're expected to know something and they don't know it, it's like that's okay. I'll try to teach you because I know what it's like to step into like a tutor's room and be scared to ask a question and stuff like that because you're scared they're gonna think like, oh, what, you don't know this? Like, I don't know. I just try to always help them out as much as I can.
That was kind of like my first interaction with ship. So I needed help with like CS coding, so CS 109, and I didn't know who to ask. I was so shy. I was like, I know ship has it, but like, would they help me? Would they make fun of me because I don't understand it? But then I met like a really nice, like, now he's an alumni, but he was really nice, and he actually helped me understand whatever we were doing, and then eventually would like stay both of us with like another person trying to figure out the code until like 8 p.m. or something like that. But it was fun and I enjoyed those moments. And I kind of, later on, not right now, but later on, I wanted to kind of like tutor more students, kind of give them a bit more clarifications of any questions they have with no judgment or anything, safe zone for them to ask all the questions they have or anything really.
Yeah, maybe look into a tutoring position at ELC. Maybe once this whole thing blows over.
For sure, maybe I'm pretty sure by next year when I'm a junior. Not right now because I'm a sophomore. I'm like I'll still make mistakes here and there. But yeah, once I'm a junior, I'll
I
stop myself.
mean, you make mistakes any year, I'll tell you that. But just wait, just until you're comfortable doing it, just until you feel that okay, I know enough about the subject, I'm comfortable enough with it, I have some notes, and you just go for it. And like I said, you also end up learning more about it as well. Maybe the second or third time around too. So it's a win-win.
For sure. Absolutely
And
100%.
last question.
Let's go.
So any additional advice or like last comments or anything else that you'd like to give to people who are currently studying STEM or wish to pursue a career in STEM? Like, what would you tell them?
Uh if you're interested in it, take it. Take the opportunity to learn more about it. Yeah, what's it called? Some people are like, "Oh, like I kind of like science, but like I don't think I'm that good at it." If you like it, just take it, test it out, see if you if you understand most of it. Not even most of it, but like, if you understand the basics and you are passionate about it, you could be able to understand the whole subject itself. So I'd say go for it if you're interested in STEM or any career really, but like STEM mainly, please come STEM. We need more. But yeah, so that's one of the tips I have. Another one that just in general, don't let people push you down. Like if you have a goal that you plan to achieve, do it. People don't have to tell you don't do it because this and that. Just go for it. If you think you could make it, you will make it. Don't let people bring you down like how they've done to me in the past. You know,
Yeah,
trying to help them out.
it's that's a huge thing too, though. A lot of people like I mean, me myself included, I'll say like they suffer from that social anxiety of what will people think of me if I try to pursue this and maybe I fail a couple of times, or maybe if I end up like taking longer than other people, or if I end up not doing as good as I want, or if I don't get the outcome I want, and they get so
Oh yeah,
nervous and worked up over it in their heads about it. And it's like,
it's.
whether
Mhm.
you can or you can't, you're probably right. And it does you no good to go into it with a negative mindset is one thing, and two is like whether you shouldn't be scared to fail, because the fact of the matter is that everyone that's ever tried has always failed at one point or another. So it's like, you know it's just go for it, just go for it.
Yeah, like trial and error, my dude. You could be trying things out like like those free trials. You try out the app, see if you like it. If you don't, that's okay, find another one. You're never gonna just like, for me, yeah, I tried graphic design. I did like it, but I was like, that's not really what I want. So it was like a trial I did, and I'm trying a new one, which is chemical engineering. So I'd say people, if you're interested in it, consider it, take a little bit of classes, or like just study a little bit on your own and figure that out by yourself.
Yeah, and it's not,
Mhm.
and it's like people that do end up going into it and then they say like maybe this isn't for me, it's not necessarily lost time. I mean, there's always things you can take out of any experience you have. Is if you can take something away from it, then it's not lost time and it's not a bad experience. Then you learn something from it. And then you're like, you don't have that thought lingering in the back of your mind like, what if I went to study this, what if I went to want to learn about this. I mean, you tried it and you figured out whether you wanted to do it or not. So
This reminds
yeah.
me of one quote, my final quote, that I forgot who wrote it, but I've seen it around in one of my classrooms before, and it was like, shoot, aim for the moon. If you miss, you'll land with the stars. I think that's
Exactly.
a powerful message, and I live by that. So people should take care, consider it. If anything, just it's okay if it's not, and it doesn't. Ugh, if it doesn't end up being what you want to do, it's fine. Pick something else up, rise back up, and conquer on.
Yeah, just keep a positive mindset and push on.
For sure.
So that's all the questions I have. Any last comments, questions?
If you see me around campus, if we go back, just say hi. That's it.
For sure. All right, see you,
Thank you.
Jocelyn.
See ya. Bye.